very good, bad, unfortunate, fortunate habit. When I'm sexually harassed, assaulted, aggressed, menaced, it always takes a group or a village to do that. A feminist would say it takes an entire gender or a male structure to do that. I'm not trying to be irreverent, but I don't totally take that view. I think it's fine to start with that, honor the bounds that you hope that you understand about what it's saying, but not remain so encrusted in what you might allow your voice to enjoy or need to say, while at the same time being sensible of not wanting to go outside other bounds which would be injurious to others. I get that. In the course of being a man who's been sexually assaulted by all the women he's ever known, I'm bound to be angry and upset and so forth. Anger can be good, anger can be bad. Anger can be helpful at breaking through boundaries, but it can also break through someone's hymen. And we understand that, right? So, or I do. And because I'm not a psychopath, right? When things happen to me or others, I am one of those people who can understand that I'm upset not just because it's happening to me, but it could happen to anyone else too. If it happens to me, it could happen to a million other people, right? And I'm upset because of that. And precisely those reasons, you don't necessarily want to take it out on the person standing across from you. You might want to go sit down and write in your blog or find other people of like mind who have a little more than just a passing interest in the more quantum levels of negative human behavior, despite all of the wonderfully sincere occupations which we commend to the industrial market system. You could hear a little bitterness in that, but we're allowed to do that. Okay, let us away. We've got a good crap. Got to the other side of the river safely. Good. Let's go. There have been cars moving down the highway and honking for the last 20 minutes. No idea what it's about. Humans being humans, I guess. It's actually kind of a riot. See what happens when multiple people get with a bad idea. It just seems I want people to understand in a way that does observe the necessity to protect women from abuse. And so to give it all the other considerations that it is due, people are often quite willing to give to women. And in deference to which I do feel myself inclined to be rather strong in the types of things I would say about them, as I tell you that I have observed these things. And I've observed that women are incredibly sexually aggressive, and social circumstances, being what they are in total providence, tend to support that. It is easier for women to be violent in many cases than men like me. It just is. That's why I've been sexually assaulted by every woman I've ever known. And I can tell you in every case, I would never treat a woman like that. I'd never talk to someone the way women talk to me. Never, 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 never would. But it's amazing how often I've been accused of that by female and male sexual predators because they don't want me around. You can only imagine why, right? Right. Who wouldn't want my voice in the world? Right? Who doesn't want your voice if you've been preyed on? Predators. Predators are less likely. Well, let's put it another way. Imagine you're a feminist and you learn about patriarchy, which actually is father death, but you understand it as a male-oriented structural sexism and violence, which it also is. And imagine that you come into the world and you see that women need to say things to advocate for their safety and their rights, such as we understand them, that no one seems to hear. And because they don't hear it, and because it seems to take so much effort, that every year of feminism that goes by only adds to the consternation and rage of men and women. That it is so hard to get men of any occupation or economic class to start participating in, accidentally or otherwise, things which quell the voice of people who are hurt or stand to be more endangered, precisely because they are not given a voice, even in your imagination, of what any prospective female may need to say about how she's feeling and how stressed she is. So when I see a local sexual predator and a chiropractor come into a place of business run by a sensibly alpha male and pawing a 19 to 21-year-old girl who's just smiling happily, making various suggestions to her, not explicit, but still flirting with her, essentially. He likes girls. He likes women, right? As much as if an older female would come and start putting her hands on me and doing the same thing, I'd be pretty fucking upset. So he's enjoying a male prerogative, right? And then, as if to emphasize the fact that he's in an aggressive state of mind, he sits down and begins to sexually molest an older male. His equal opportunity, because really it's not about sex, you see, it's about dominance. And in the span of 3 minutes, this man, who's already sexually assaulted me when I went in to get a chiropractic treatment, and you come outside and there's only women waiting there to see him, right? And I happen to know of a woman who's also a sexual predator who was having illicit services from him, okay? And who also offered unwanted sexual services to people she was welcoming onto her healing table. So you see, this person coming in and the profile of 3 minutes of his behavior is giving you a lot of information about sexually predatory behavior, right? So yes, women get preyed on. And yes, she's smiling because she's not given a voice in that environment to say, hey, get your fucking hands off me. And everyone's then going to sit there and clap. Good for you. Get your fucking hands off her. If I say, get your fucking hands off that woman, I ever see you touch that girl like that again, I'll break your hands off, right? What happens to me? I go to jail. I never get my coffee again. And you say, oh, cry me a river, right? You're just a coward. Well, at least I noticed it. The cafe is full. She works with men and women older than her. It's not like they're fucking saying anything about it. But the alpha male, who's learned, as we all do, how to deal with these people, at least as best you can, sits down and starts engaging him in conversation, which is basically what I would do. Taking his attention away from the person he's currently molesting and just having a little polite banter, right? And it settles him down because this man, not really a man, is just in an excited state. Not just, but he's in an excited state. He lives in an excited state. Male psychopaths do. They're charming. They're gregarious, right? Right? And women, that allow them to be are helping him, right? But you're actually being victimized too. You're being forced to help him. I'm being forced to help him. So you would say, why don't we give women this voice? Why is it unsafe for them or us to speak on their behalf? I feel the same way when I'm assaulted by women. I feel listening to these videos, and I enjoy the pressure on a good day, and it's not your fault, not women's fault, but I also suffer from the pressure because I'm speaking into a vacuum, aren't I? Right? I don't presume to be the best feminist in the world. I don't presume to know the experiences of other people. I'm quite aware, which is why I never really thought of myself as raped and sexually abused. I was sympathetic to the women that were forcing themselves on me. Were all letting me know in their way I'd been abused. So I couldn't think badly about them. I mean, right? I mean, they're touching your penis. That's got to be good, right? Wrong. You can get angry, but I've never once been violent to a female, right? I've had my shoulder dislocated 20 times. I've never raised my hand or my voice to a female. What does that make me? The biggest putz in history? So when I see videos with guys smacking women, I'm like, hey. Because sometimes it seems, I wouldn't do it, but sometimes, they get a little out of hand. Because, they're so used to being able to blow shit into a guy's blood. I know you shouldn't hit them. But it tells you that women have a lot of power. Not just political and economic. Like, as women, you have a lot of power. And like any power, it can be misused. Like any power, if you're living in an oppressive environment, like a pit bull, guess what? Or a dog, or any dog, maybe they're going to bite you. And you don't say bad pit bull, bad woman, but you do say bad man. Bad man, bad man. You don't say bad woman, bad pit bull. You say great pit bull, trained to bite people. Because it had someone around them that didn't basically respect their nature beyond that of a retarded gorilla. And because of society and stuff, you can have a dog, not understand their nature, or a child, and, fucking get what you get. It's their own fucking problem. They figure out all the existential complexities of basically being orphaned as a child in the core biomechanical system that can never be a Christian, never be a Muslim, and no religion or philosophy speaks the voice of its prey and of the prey of an oppressive system. It doesn't. Pretty fucking startling. I don't know why I did that. It's startling. I've been on this sort of kick for a few days. Let's have some more food. Let's have some chips. It's a good day. But if you spend a lot of time by yourself and you get aggression from people, well, you see that by being by yourself all the time, let's say an environment where I'm coming daily and by yourself, by yourself, by yourself, by yourself, and it's dominated by the opposite sex, by yourself, by yourself. You're basically asking people to become predatory. I've living in this area and other areas, I've seen a lot of very troubling behavior from women throughout my life. Very, extremely, horribly troubling in how they behave, how they think they're having sex with men, and why they need to do that, and why they can't control themselves. Why they often have trouble with food control, because they have trouble with control. Once you're hurt, you're kind of told you don't have enough control. When control becomes compulsive, it speeds out of control to the point that a woman who's becoming predatory or violent loses control of herself and becomes even more victimized, in a sense, more irate, more theatrically hysterical, the more she's losing control because she's giving it up. Her system is giving up control. It's capitulating to whatever originally harmed her, but with anger and venom. And so when a woman is raping a man, she's losing control, taking control so compulsively that she can never have enough. And if the man objects, it's as though he's raped her, as though she had no control, because she doesn't. In a way, she's lost it, has made her seek it with violent compulsion. Same thing with a man. But I observe this from women because they're the ones who often sexually assault. The same thing with an alcoholic who realizes they can't control their liquor. Control. The fact is, people lose control of their drinking all the time, right after the first sip, because of what it does. They're still honking. Because my shoulder got dislocated because I was being poisoned by who were out of control with their need for control. One woman early in my life, I've already been raped a couple times at this point, is trying to get with me, but she dispenses with it. I won't tell you exactly the circumstances, they're quite poignant. And basically says, you love yourself too much. You love living too much. I can't tell whether it's a compliment or an insult. Narcissistic state. And other women I've met that harass me, they'll just say things about fact, and I think they think they're positive. But she made it sound like you love your life so much, you'll never have any girlfriend, which indeed has been the case, because I love living too much. Do you understand? What does that tell you? I just love living too much to have a girlfriend. Right? Smart woman. You see, sociopaths, or women under the influence, which any victim of abuse could be, quite reliably with, will tell you things that are quite true about the world, if not entirely about yourself. There's a reason why women outlive men, especially their husbands. Right? When we say that women are feeding on men, again, it's not like women are these evil people who live their whole life to feed on men. The disease of narcissism is codependent. Someone's doing it, someone's accepting it, someone's giving it. Nobody's happy. It's a result of oppression. Narcissism comes from oppression. You end up robbing someone of something while projecting onto them the idea that they're the only one who can rob anything from you. And consequently, never give them what they deserve and never get what you want, that can only be freely offered. You've automatically, from the female perspective, closed any chance that you're going to freely offer something that doesn't come with an inordinate cost. And then you're going to take what you want, and then you're going to get angry that you didn't give the man a chance to offer what he had to give. And women enter into relationship and matrimony all the time through acculturation in this narcissistic world, this narcissistic worldview. And then the ones that stay married just work and work and work and work, and then find some young guy like me to try to sexually assault. And of course they outlive men because they're practicing an economic advantage. They're living off of them. Women in narcissistic relationship with men live longer because the system is weighted to the advantage of feminine magic, because at core, women have the biological license to kill their own flesh and blood, especially if you marry them and bear their children. Men die by accident. You'll notice in the area among working people, a lot of accidental death after the birth of their first or second child. The women are often different sexual orientations, or they decide to explore the exciting world of bisexuality and so forth. They're liberated by the death of their husband, really more than anything. Especially since matrimony has guaranteed them in a life insurance policy with a certain deference from society and economic support systems. Right? These men who die usually leave these women okay. There's a sense of guaranteed income. So the men pay either way. They pay with their death or they pay with their life. And essentially they become the same thing. And that women aren't doing that. That's the way the economic system, right? Women don't let it do that to you. Men don't let it do that to you. Don't let men and women do that to each other. And that requires knowledge and protection. We all have the protection. We have the intelligence. But you need to activate the voice to make the full use of it. You know, you might have an insurance policy, but if you don't activate it, it's no good. It lay dormant, especially since in our society, people are taught to keep their instincts inside of self-preservation. Oh, sure, let out your sex, lower your inhibitions, wear sexy clothing, go to work in Afghanistan, climb giant trees, jump out of airplanes, risk this, that, and the other, become a socially viable sociopath. But don't really protect yourself. Give yourself to the group, to the herd, to the economic system, to the structural violence. Remember, feminism doesn't want me to do that, and I don't want to do it either. I'm a good feminist. I have not ever volunteered or consented to have any type of sex relations with any female. Okay? And despite never having a girlfriend, I'm losing the desire to want to hump anybody. Quite frankly, I'd have to be a gynecologist at this point to want to get between a woman's legs. It's lightening up a little bit. I don't find the prospect very healing. What I'd really like is like just an intelligent woman. But I guess I'm not going to find her sitting out in the woods every day. So it's kind of like, do you really want a woman? Or do you just want to languish? Self-involved impotence. Well, I think I'm potent. I'm not going to be as potent as someone who's around attractive women every day.
watching. There's, ooh, I like Vanessa's choice of blouse today. It's very revealing. It smells nice. Oh, she's coming to give me my photocopies. Hi, Vanessa. Ah, yes, what a day it is. How many men are just a little bit more happy because a female co-worker brushes by the break room? Or, oh, we talked today. She told me about her new iPhone. Ooh, yay. I worked at a fast food place, and yeah, then you'd have these rare little conversations with one of the good-looking employees, my age, and made life a little more bearable. You know. And there were quite a few people, but they had a range of definitely sexually promiscuous behavior. Three of them, actually all three of them there became single mothers within the first year or two of meeting. I mean, it's hard to believe, eh? The two more upward mobile who were going to get jobs, doing this, that, the other, who go to a bar several times a week to go and dance and show their ass and their tits and see if they can attract some dick attached to a beautiful heart of Jesus that would love them forever. To kind of slay their father and find how to be someone who's lost their father, who doesn't have to talk about losing their father, which means that somebody's going to have to lose their life. Hey, that's okay, because your baby you're born stillborn anyway by the ex. So either way, as you can get a baby out, you can satisfy the demands of the loss of your father. Allowing children to be born is nothing more than state chattel, upon whose dead flesh and blood is based every negative financial instrument in the world. The debt you can never pay. And the debt is the only way. As the sun rises, as the galaxies float in their ethereal realms, astronomers are astromones, astromoner, the astro money from the torture of the sun and stars. Right? Astronomy is talking about rule by negative financial instruments. It's nothing to do with outer space. That's what they call royal actors and or public managers stars. And what are stars backwards? What are they? Rats. They're rats, aren't they? Ben Affleck is a rat. Actors who appear on television, what do you think they're there for? They're actors. They work for government. They work for the royal family. They are the royal family. You think they trust anything other than their family to be the actors of the world? Their culture to you is like your culture to a cow. And you go eat at McDonald's every day, and you go on a TV show watched by cows, and it's like, I think the grass should be this tall. I can't believe you're deregulating the grass that is sufficient for these incredibly young cows. Meanwhile, you go home after showing all your outrage at the Muslim cows wanting to practice Sharia law on the other non-Muslim cows, and you go home and have a beautiful steak, blood dripping down your face. The culture of royalty to you is the same. The ultimate oppression is the ultimate leverage. It has to be in culture, way of life, belief, development, family connections, everything. Think about what a culture is. The culture of royalty is a separate culture. And the only way you know anything about it, I just threw my joint into the trees. It's like, it's okay, it'll burn down. No, I'm going to watch it, it's fine. I shouldn't do that. I mean, I got lazy because the winter is always wet. There's always snow on the ground, so it just doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm going to pick it up. You're like, bastard. Here it is. It's fine. Okay. The cherry's still in there. Oh, that's stupid. I gotta stop that. You see, I can change. It's actually not that cold right now. Kind of nicely warmed up there. So yeah, isn't that interesting? And now you can see I will never have a friend or a girlfriend. The last woman I even talked about anything to was in the process of sexually assaulting me at the time, so. On a funnier note, young women sometimes can't control themselves around me. Others, they're fine. It's like, I'm nobody. Sometimes it kind of shocks me because just in the last few years of my life. Never before have I ever noticed. And please understand, this could all be subjective. You're just looking through my subjective mind. You don't have to be like, go hurt women or something. But in a way that I've learned, I've come to understand that I've grown as a man, which you might say is very immature, or late, fucked up in all kinds of ways. I didn't know and have a concept. Understand that by the time I was 19 and 20, I didn't know how to name emotions as fluidly. I knew conceptually as you might in terms of sentences like, I feel this, I feel sad, or so and so, I'm angry. So in my house, we didn't learn that. You could say, well, that's a big deal. Okay? Put a pin in that. That's huge. Say something about me, say something about my beliefs, maybe why I'm sitting here saying these things. As far as learning, women were sending my way, or even what I was sending women, in the sense of being a young person in high school who masturbates, whatever, a couple times a day, and goes in the shower in the morning. They're like, hey, this is a good time to whack off. You can't. I'm not trying to be just crude. I mean, this is biology, and it's important to understand that. We're trying an animal you're studying. It's like, this is what my body is doing at this point in my life. And I don't understand. I don't have a grip on it. The only grip I've got is the grip that I can use with my hairy palm. So, and then, you could have a range of queries as to, are you guilty? Do you think that just being a good masturbator would get you a woman? She'd appear one day like, hey, thank you for moving your magic wand 10 million times. I can satisfy your every like Acme women, just boobs down. In fact, movies made for young men, essentially in my teens, were basically like, create your own female on the computer, and there are boys featured that look like they are very messed up about who they are and who they're supposed to be. And granted, that some of that has got to be changes from so-called sex development. That nobody's really, even when we're paying a teacher to teach me about sex at school for a week or two, whatever it was, sat there and shuffled papers every fucking hour and did nothing. So there's nothing for me. I know male mentors, my father, anyone, to like connect female behavior or how I'm feeling and separate it. Not that I'm a rapist or anything, but separate from this menagerie of animal chemicals wafting through your life in a way that nobody even talks about. By the time I'm in grade 10 or 16 years old, my face, and including being domestically abused, is erupting in not just acne, but like entire continents of pus. Basically, like, here's Africa of pus, here's Australia of pus. Like, you could puncture it, and you would get like the hand filled up with pus coming out of my face, just gray brown pus. Disgusting, right? Think about me. This is my face, right? I look like a burn victim. Cheeks here, oh, more pus there. Every day, pus just popping out on my face. I go to see a dermatologist. He doesn't know what to do. Okay. At this point in the world, as of today, 35 years later, there is no medical system, knowledge, or philosophy to really appreciate what was happening to my body. Do you know that? There's no one who's an expert in the right fields to know and appreciate without dominating me or casting negative aspersions about me or pathologizing me, really treating me like a human being who's as dignified and wonderful as your own mom and dad, or your own spouse, your own children, who is simply undergoing and responding to conditions which are having an adverse effect upon his life and his skin. And it's telling you that. Telling you this, telling you this, telling you this. And if you had knowledge, you would say, oh yeah, it's saying all these things. Yep. Wow, okay, this is what this guy's going through. Right? Example, in terms of the demands on your empathy, imagine going on a roller coaster with a friend who's never been on a roller coaster before, and the roller coaster came off the rails and their whole family was decapitated. And it happened like 6 months ago. And you don't know this, and on your birthday you put them in the first car and there's no seatbelts and you've got them high on marijuana. Okay? And I don't want to do this, man. Right? Imagine how that would feel to them and how it would feel to you, and how life is for a victim of abuse, and how life is for someone who never come off the tracks. Think about the difference in that experience. You would say, well, there's no reason to be that disturbed by being 16 years old or whatever. But what is it like to someone who has undergone severe losses in their life, losses in their safety, losses in the critical things. If we were to sit down with child authors from Richard Dawkins to Charles Dickens and Mandel and who's that other author like Louisa May Alcott or something? Louisa May Alcott. What an interesting author's name. Wrote a fabulous book. No, I don't think she wrote that. Someone else wrote The Princess. I'm sorry, credit to the author who wrote The Princess, The Little Princess. But the other books that Alcott wrote, particularly the first one she wrote when she was 16 or so, actually I find most brilliant, her first book. And I think my first book is the most brilliant that I've read, but we're coming at things a different way. And you got together and you thought about what this person was going through. There's a lot of knowledge there. And it's not just subjective or something someone should bear, that they're having a very different experience than you are. And really different. Humans are as psychological and emotional as they are physical. You can't control if a spider bit you, when you may not be able to control your fear of spiders. You know, some people say, oh, that's simple, you just gotta, exposure, hey, look, the spider isn't gonna bite expert in spiders. Put them on TV. They've done this to people. And it's like, here's a tarantula from the New York Zoo. And really, you're terrified of spiders. Yep. And I've gone to this hypnotist named Ben and Jerry, right? And I tell you, I fully, do trust me, hold my hand. This spider is on me. The spider has never hurt anyone. And the spider crawls onto her in the TV night show. Are you okay? Uh-huh. And then the spider bites her and she dies. Hey, it's just a gag, folks. Think about the difference in experience. What if she has a heart attack? You have to understand that what you call psychosomatic, thinking that you're referring to something that is neurotic, let's say, at best, is not neurotic at all. In fact, the somatic mind and the emotional mind is the same as the intelligence and the blood coursing through all of your muscles and all of your senses. It's just that we are stupefied by the demands upon our flesh and blood. That so many of the artifacts of the unnecessary demands placed upon us, we often find a way to consider abstract, academic, psychosomatic. Now, feminism has said, your conditions maybe could give you acne because you're living in such an oppressive world. And your father punched you in the face on the table when you were 14 years old. And 2 years later, you're erupting in now a humiliating facial problem. It's like, well, medically, we don't know that. You can't prove that. Well, here's the thing. I think my body is a pretty creative intelligence. It's been alive longer than you have, millions of years. My body has a voice like, millions of years old. And I think that my body is pretty fucking creative. I think about those testicles and I think, they could have stayed inside the body.